In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly.
The second major executive action that President Trump signed was a presidential memorandum directing the Secretary of Defense to utilize the National Guard to address the conditions we see on our streets here in D.C. It also authorized the Secretary of Defense to work with state governors to utilize their National Guard units if necessary as well.
There is a law on the books confirmed by the Constitution called posse comitatus. And it means that the federal government does not have a right to send soldiers into American cities for the purpose of, well, for any purpose really, but specifically to fight crime, let's say. And that is what he's suggesting that he will do, violate that law. It's not surprising to me that he suggests violating the law. He's done it many times and been convicted of it 34 times. And so I would just say he has absolutely no right and no legal ability to send troops in to the city of Chicago. And so I reject that notion.
But then I'm going to look at New York in a little while. Let's do this. Let's do this together. Let's see. It's going to go pretty quickly. And if we need to, we're going to do the same thing in Chicago, which is a disaster. We have a mayor there who's totally incompetent. He's an incompetent man. And we have an incompetent governor there. Pritzker's an incompetent. His family threw him out of the business, and he ran for governor. And now I understand he wants to be president. But I noticed he lost a little weight, so maybe he has a chance. You know, you never know what happens. But Pritzker's a gross incompetent guy, thrown out of the family business.
As to everything else that he had to say this morning, I guess I should say thank you for the compliment. And you have to remember that I reject criticism and don't really want to respond to criticism from Donald Trump, who inherited his money and then went bankrupt 6 times and then defrauded his business partners. And by the way, he cheats at golf too. So look, I believe that, I have had a successful business career, I know that, and I chose to run for governor because I believed that our state was headed in the wrong direction. And we have righted the ship. We have a lot more work to do, but we've done a whole lot to make sure that we're keeping people safe and improving people's income levels and attracting business to the state. And by the way, we've balanced the budget 7 times in a row, and we've raised the minimum wage. And we have a whole lot more work to do, no doubt about it, but I think my intentions are clear, and unlike the president, I'm not trying to make money off of my public position.
This dire public safety crisis stems directly from the abject failures of the city's local leadership. The radical left city council adopted no cash bail. By the way, every place in the country where you have no cash bail is a disaster. That's what started the problem in New York, and they don't change it. They don't want to change it. That's what started it in Chicago. I mean, bad politicians started it, bad leadership started it, but that was the one thing that's central, no cash bail. Somebody murders somebody and they're out on no cash bail before the day is out. We're going to end that in Chicago. We're going to change the statute. I spoke with Pam and Todd and everybody. We're going to change the statute, and I'm going to have to get the Republicans to vote because the Democrats are weak on crime, totally weak on crime. They don't know why. They want to stop because they get mugged too. But we're going to change no cash bail. We're going to change the statute and get rid of some of the other things, and we'll count on the Republicans in Congress and Senate to vote. We have the majority, so we'll vote.
Today is a very emotional day for me for a lot of different reasons. And I would tell you unequivocally, in my 25 years of elected office, this is the least political thing I have ever done. but it's the most important thing I have ever done. A big part of this legislation is accountability, for its law enforcement being accountable for the officers that they put out on the streets to do that policing. There always has to be a level of accountability in everything. There is no law that we could write that would say, Sangamon County, you cannot hire this person. There's no law that you can write. But what I can tell you, and what I am very, very proud of, is that during this entire process, like I said, from day one, the Chiefs of Police Association and the Sheriff's Association have been at the table, and they have worked with us to make this bill extremely strong, and again, the first in the nation.
It is my privilege to present to the court 392 candidates for United States citizenship from 75 countries. Each of these candidates has been examined by an officer of the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, and each has been found to meet all of the statutory requirements for naturalization. Each has been determined to be a person of good moral character, supportive of our Constitution and form of government, as well disposed toward the good order and happiness of the United States.
That I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by law.
Congratulations, everyone. Let's give them a round of applause.
I think I did. How long did it take? It took me about, maybe, I can't put a year to it, but the process was, I think it was quite easy. If you do your research, I did a lot of reading, a lot of YouTube videos just to make sure I fill out the forms correctly. And there's a lot of help you call different resources to help, and they are very helpful. And I thank God because, most of all, I thank God because it was an easy process for me. I'm support from my wife and family just to make sure I dot the I's correctly. It could be very stressful trying to make sure you do everything correctly, but I thank God it was good. Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like if they were more straight up with how long the process was going to take, I feel like that would help people know exactly, gauge, like, you know, how to plan. Because like I was kind of let in the dark. I never knew like when like the time was like of the process and anything. I just got emails after a while, so that's the only thing I'd recommend to change.
And on behalf of everyone here, we welcome you as citizens of the United States. You did it!
Since the dawn of the Republic, political parties have won and lost elections and then won again, and that's what's going to happen to us in 2026. And what I'll say to those who are wondering what's next for the Democratic Party is this. She's alive and well and stronger than ever, and right here living in the great state of Illinois.
In the midst of the chaos that's coming out of Washington these past several months, how many of you have said these words? I'm so glad I live in Illinois. It is why the country looks at us as an example, because Illinois is the blueprint. We've protected women's reproductive rights. We've banned assault weapons. We passed the Workers' Rights Amendment. And we enacted nation-leading climate legislation to put us on a path to a clean energy future.
Donald Trump promised that they would lower costs, in fact, on day one. But here in America, costs haven't gone down, costs have gone up. Inflation is on the way up. Job creation is coming down. They have failed to keep their core promise of making life more affordable for the American people while they enrich their billionaire donors. As Democrats, we understand that it's time to build an affordable economy. We have to lower the high cost of living in the United States of America, and we need to do it now.
We Democrats, we built Medicaid, we built Medicare, we built Social Security. It's Democrats that passed the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. We're Democrats because of those things, and we have to defend those things. The Republicans are trying to damage all of that. Republicans have raised tariff taxes on the average American family by $2,400 each. Get people out to vote, because in 2026, who's going to win? That's right, and we have a fight ahead of us. And folks, I got to ask you, are you ready for the fight? Are you ready for the fight? Let's go get them, everybody. Thank you all for being here today. We've got to make sure that nobody's pointing fingers. We've got to make sure that PJM does the right thing. They've got projects that they are not putting on the grid to provide more energy. We in Illinois can do something very important, which is we can get rid of the moratorium on nuclear, which has been in place for decades now. We already got rid of it on small modular nuclear. We can do that on large nuclear. It's going to be an important part of a transition to renewable energy everywhere and to our 2050 goal of clean energy.
We love you, Jimmy! Yeah!
We need to empower our small businesses to hire people, to grow, to take risks. And by increasing liability, by increasing red tape, we're doing none of that. This is not the direction we need to go for Illinois if we want to create a prosperous future for our small towns and main streets across the state.
Paying our workers properly does not hold Illinois back. It advances the cause of Illinois. And I have worked very hard to stand up for our small businesses. In fact, we've reduced, as you know, the franchise tax in the state of Illinois. We've made it easier for them to do business in the state of Illinois. We continue to look at how we can advance small businesses. By the way, many people in the trades work with or are part of small businesses. And so this is about advancing the cause of working families, small business families across the entire state of Illinois.
We're not on the right trajectory. Right now, we're seeing a lot of developing countries, France, Britain, we're seeing regulatory relief coming out from Washington, but Illinois is moving in the opposite direction. So I would say we're moving the wrong direction on really preparing, making Illinois viable, making it possible for small businesses to compete in the global economy. The common theme I heard is that it's much harder to do business in Illinois due to the administrative and regulatory environment here. And this bill will double down on that, because as small businesses in Iowa, in Missouri, and all across this country get regulatory relief from Washington from some of these cumbersome red tape, Illinois small businesses will not receive that. And that will put us further at a disadvantage to grow our local economies and our Main Street businesses. This bill creates an opportunity for so-called interested parties to bring lawsuits against employers. And they don't have to be representing employees at that business. They can just bring lawsuits. So it's setting the table for bad faith actors to bring shakedown lawsuits against small businesses.
Working people need more than a collective bargaining agreement to ensure their rights are protected on the job. They need elected officials to ensure they have rights to good wages, health care, retirement, and safety on the job. Like Governor Pritzker, I am thankful to live in Illinois, where every day is Labor Day.
Well, Judge Larson made a ruling, and we're interpreting it as being a ruling solely on our petition for emergency relief, immediate relief. And we consider our primary petition still pending. And So at the time being, the special session in Texas is about to end. I know that Governor Abbott is going to call another special session.
Look, it's just proof that this is all about cheating, right? This was a special session that was called in Texas for the purpose of providing relief to flood victims and the families of people who died. And now the Republicans, Donald Trump is leading it, are attempting to take away 5, 8 seats from black and brown people and from, frankly, people across the United States. So it's just more evidence that this was all a political ploy from the beginning.
I do think legally there have been no challenges that have held up on this map. So I think that is an important point. But I do want to just say, it is an incredible honor to represent in this district, the 13th district in central and southern Illinois. That is what I'm focused on, which is how do we make things more affordable? And regardless of the district is as it is, and I'm proud to represent from Urbana-Champaign all the way down to East St. Louis and call Springfield my home. I stay focused on the issues that matter within the district I was elected to.
That I think the Texas legislators are talking about returning to Texas for the next session. That's been our goal all along. They have critical business to take care of, and they need to perform their official duties, which is the sole reason that I wanted to be local counsel. And from my perspective of being a elected official myself, you got to abide by your oath and show up.
The way I'm reading this is the fact that your rules that you proposed that were in, the subject of this February 28th meeting are the rules as are the rules are going to be, and any changes that they come forward with or any recommendations that they come forward with, too bad, we're going to go with the February 20th. That's the way I'm reading this.
Okay. That's noted, and we can make a better effort to explain that we are making changes and that we will keep the ESDAs involved in this.
You've got other counties down in like central Illinois that have only got one person running the agency, and their complaint is they spend more time filling out paperwork that is required in order to determine what eligibility they have for what limited funds are available, rather than planning on what would happen if an emergency actually happened.
We've all sat in on too many Zoom meetings over the last several years. It's so easy to get lost in the crowd when you have a specific issue and there's 10 other guys lined up in front of you to try to get their issues across. So
right. Yes, our leadership is 100% about listening to, I'm not going to speak in the past, but for right now, our leadership is 100% about listening to comments and anything from our local ESDAs.
I can't emphasize too strongly the need for discussion between IEMA and the local emergency agencies before we see it, because it's going to this back and forth, this distrust, and it is this seeming top-down attitude that these folks are seeing is going to require us to take a very hard look at anything that comes out in the way of rulemaking.